We never saw each other being number 1 and 2 pick.
1 and 2 in the draft, both from South Carolina.
We'll bring excitement to this league.
I can't change the culture. And we up, yeah, way up, yeah. They gon' put this on a poster. Yeah, I got many dreams. I got plenty things that I wanna see where I
Welcome into Hoop Streams, and this is the beautiful Orlando, Florida, the best state in the world.
Really? That's the hottest take we'll hear all episode of this. What are you talking about,
I just felt like I
C-Dub?
should drop that in there. Nice palm trees,
Caught me off
beautiful
guard.
scenery.
It's too hot. It's too hot.
Whatever. Welcome into Hoop Streams. I'm Christine Williamson, here joined by Gary Striewski.
What's going on? I'm really glad they left this table because I can prop my feet up and it's like I'm in my living room hanging out. It's pretty
We
cool.
are.
I like
This
it.
is a living room.
Yeah.
Omar Raja is holding it down in Orlando. What's good, Omar?
It's not that hot. I'm still wearing a bomber jacket. You guys can clown me all you want. It's not that bad, and Florida is the best state in the world. Orlando isn't the best city, but it's top 10 at least, right?
I knew you
Omar,
would like
stop
that.
the conversation. It is downright offensive.
I'm all for it.
That you're in Florida right now, 100% humidity. It's 106. It's the surface of the sun hot down
It's
there.
not 100% humidity. That's literal water.
And you
Yes.
are wearing a long sleeve shirt that people at home don't know underneath a bomber jacket, bro. You had plenty of days to prepare for a short sleeve in the wardrobe.
Explain to Gary why you're wearing a long sleeve
So-
shirt.
So, hold on, couple things. I will always rock a bomber jacket because it always looks great. But when you're in the bubble, you only have 2 days to do laundry, Monday and Thursday. And you have to drop that laundry off by 11 a.m. And today was Monday, and I did not drop off that laundry by 11 a.m.
Literally,
So,
Omar
tough
said-
times in the Raja hotel room.
This cat said the other day that he's free to roam wherever you can go to Tampa if you want. Omar, you just go to the store, bro. I usually wouldn't get upset if your actions weren't directly affecting me, but I am uncomfortable and I'm sweating just looking at you down in Florida. But anyway, I digress. We got a lot of basketball to talk about this episode.
We do have a lot of basketball. We've got 3 games today. 2 already happened, 1 in progress. Let's take a look at some highlights from yesterday. Starting off with Russell Westbrook. He was in his bag yesterday, finished with 31 points. A bucket.
He had to be. James Harden had 24. Rock the baby, rock the baby. Not only to be lost among the offensive output for the Rockets, but they were on their game as a team defensively. 1 of 6 steals right there from James Harden, who didn't want to answer any questions as it related to putting the clamps on Giannis. He said, I got nothing to prove. Okay.
All right, on to the Celtics. Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum were cooking for the Celtics. Brown had a couple of big dunks on his way to 30 points. And Jason Tatum knocking down jumpers from everywhere. He finished with 34.
People underestimate how much a haircut can just absolutely change your game. Remember when Jason Tatum, he was mic'd up before a game in Boston earlier in the year, and he goes, when I get a fresh cut, I'm top 5. They're like, top 5 what? He said, I'm just top 5. He got a cut. And he played like top 5 just there.
And that's what happened. Grizz, Morant finds Brandon Clark for the alley-oop. Whoop, and down.
Yeah, generally it's jaw flushing the rock, but good to be on the passing side of that.
Karis LeVert doing it all for the Nets. Hits Shabazz Napier with a nasty crossover. Puts up a circus shot and knocks it down.
Not to be lost on this is like that's one of the recognizable names on the Nets because like their entire roster either opted out or couldn't make it down to the bubble, so they're going to have the esteemed place in getting dispatched by the Bucks in the opening round. Currently, they're sitting 8th.
Boban, slam. I mean, you don't even stand a chance.
He didn't even have to jump. By the way, the Mavericks haven't won a game yet in the bubble, but they qualified for the playoffs thanks to the Suns losing.
Check out Markelle Fultz. I mean, that should be worth way more than 3 points.
First overall pick, that's what you should be able to be doing.
All day, all day.
Vucevic. What did you call me?
Today, we got a game. Heat, Raptors. Heat, who needs Kawhi when you have Fred VanVleet? And that's the Raptors, not the Heat, obviously.
I know that we joke around a lot, but Nick Nurse doesn't get enough credit for what he's been able to do with this Raptors team, who of course doesn't have Kawhi and Pascal Siakam right there, who should be getting legitimate MVP buzz, but it was VanVleet scoring a career-best 36 points to dispatch the Heat, who are on their heels. So it's like the Raptors are showing everybody in the East that currently and again, they are nobody to be played with.
You talked about Siakam, him with the dunk. Raptors go on to win 107-103. Now Nuggets Thunder. Michael Porter Jr. had 20 in the first half. First Nuggets rookie to do that since Carmelo Anthony.
That's going to pretty much be the first round matchup. The Nuggets are third, Thunder currently are sixth. We might see that matchup again.
All right, TJ Warren, a game after dropping 53. Not quite as hot, but he's got 27 in the game, and the Pacers are up big on the Wizards.
And I think the Pacers are exactly who we thought they were and who we think they're going to be, currently sitting in the 5th seed in the Eastern Conference. Coach McMillan is saying, though, the Domantas Sabonis, he's not anywhere near returning to basketball form, so that's a gigantic blow for the Pacers. But, I mean, if TJ Warren can get anywhere near 50-something and Victor Oladipo can get those buckets going, the Pacers might be a little bit of an issue. But, I think they are exactly who we're going to see in the playoffs. They lost to the Celtics, they beat the Sixers, and I think that's exactly what we can expect them to sort of do once the playoffs actually start.
All right, we're leading into a big game. 2 rookies, Ja Morant and Zion Williamson. Everybody wants to talk about these rookies. The question about these two, though, how high is their ceiling?
Legends are not born, they are made.
Open! Chicago with the lead!
So who's got next?
Morant gets it back, dances away from traffic, and runs the rim! Irving, blocked by Morant! We're going to overtime! Here is Morant turning on the burners! Oh my! Wow! Zion for 4 for 4! Welcome to the NBA!
The kid is special, man, and they got a good one in him.
Just get out of the way when Zion wants it.
Go to Williamson, facing up and driving and smashing the rim.
He's a game changer. He can come in and have an immediate impact on this league.
Hey, because somebody from the 15th row throw that ball back on the court, please. Zion, set with his chest, detonating on the rim. Right down, yes, he's got it.
How about it? Are the people excited or what?
Show this year. Took 3 months. His debut is now.
Lob to Williamson.
There's nobody in this building that is sitting down.
When the tank comes rolling over the hill, they get out the way. What Zion is doing is next level.
Ja Morant, a movie. Zion Williamson, an actual, I don't even know what to call him. He's just absolutely ridiculous.
It's insane.
It's insane. So I wanted to ask you, Omar, because me and you were both at Zion's debut in New Orleans, and I know you're watching Ja and Zion there live. So watching these two, how high do you think their ceiling is?
Oh, I think very high. I think it's going to be like the next big rivalry for the NBA, how you saw Luka and Trey last year. Ja and Zion have the potential to be even better than that rivalry of Trey Young and Luka Doncic. And I think one thing that watching the 2 games with the Grizzlies, one against the Portland Trail Blazers, Ja is amazing at controlling the pace. He's so good at setting his teammates up. I've been very impressed watching him up close. So as far as who has the higher ceiling, it's Zion Williamson. You can't teach his athleticism, you can't teach his size, you can't teach all of that stuff. But I think Ja Morant is going to be a problem for a very long time.
Zion is about, this is kind of ridiculous, about 100 pounds heavier than
That's
Ja.
crazy.
It's like a whole other person.
And that's the only reason that I would pause to say, and of course you can't project a decade from now, but like I'm in my 30s and I know what 30-year-old knees feel like, right? So I'm not built like Zion, but when he gets 10 years more mature, and he's going to have, the professional athlete, diet and regimen, but he's already had some lower body issues. Remember, they had to teach him how to walk again, essentially, and fix his gait when he twisted his ankle, in shoe gait. at Duke. So that's the only reason I would hit pause. Obviously, he's on a minutes restriction right now, but both of these dudes are 20 years old. What I will say is I don't think anybody anticipated Morant to be this good this early, because it wasn't that long ago that he was just a highlight dunker from Murray State, right?
Yeah.
And then we started actually seeing his game and paying attention to his game on a national scale, which with Zion, he was making highlights when he was a sophomore in high school. So everybody knew who this dude was. He had 1 million followers when he was in high school. Morant, not so much. The hype and the train and the buzz really only picked up that 1 year at Murray State, which he was a high flyer, and then obviously they went 1 and 2. So I would say that Ja currently is more of a surprise in terms of what he's producing on the court. And as far as Rookie of the Year, he's going to win, and all the votes are essentially leading up to that March 11th stoppage. Now, if Zion would have stayed healthy and he was able to play, obviously, he would have made that race a little bit more enticing. But Morant's the Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, Morant, clearly the Rookie of the Year. If Zion had been playing the same amount of time that Ja was and was completely healthy, Omar, I'll ask you this. Like I said, you're watching them there live. What do you think? Do you think that Zion would have had a chance to get the Rookie of the Year?
Oh, I think he would have won it.
Yeah.
The only thing that Ja really had going for him was that no one expected Memphis to make the playoffs this year. And I think what would have happened is the Pelicans would have taken that spot away from the Grizzlies. But still, what Ja did was very impressive. I think when you talk about leadership, that's not an ability that you can just teach. And the fact that Morant is already a leader for this young team is very impressive. But Zion is very talented. He's averaging, 20 points a game. I think he would have ran away with it.
All right, so since we're talking about awards, let's kick it out to another award. What do you think about Most Improved Player? Right now, Brandon Ingram and Bam Adebayo, the front runners. What do you think, Gary? Out of those two, you got another one?
I got a spicy little take.
Okay.
And by spicy take, I mean spicy pea. Hear me out. Pascal Siakam, he won Most Improved Player last year when he burst onto the scene with the Raptors. That was when Kawhi Leonard was on the team. We didn't expect him to average 16 points a game and do what he did as a power forward in Toronto.
Yeah.
Flash forward to this year, right? The Raptors are a legitimate title contender. Nobody expected this from Pascal. Nobody expected it from the Raptors. This dude didn't start playing basketball until he was a teenager. Okay, so now removed is Kawhi Leonard. He leads the team in scoring and rebounds, 26 points per game. Kyle Lowry's second on the team. He's improved exponentially from being the most improved last year. That's the only reason I say that there's a case that Pascal Siakam should be and could be in the conversation for most improved player again.
Okay.
Omar disagrees with me, though, and I know it.
He does.
I completely disagree, because we knew who Pascal Siakam was last year. We knew he was a great player. He was averaging 16, 17, and then when Kawhi left, he got those opportunities to shoot a lot more shots. I bet a lot of people didn't know who Bam Adebayo was last year, and now he's an all-star. His offensive numbers are up. His rebounding numbers are up. He even averages 6 assists, and the team's winning. He's a great defender, and I think I had a conversation with him during All-Star, and I said, do you feel like this has been your biggest jump? And he's like, yes, the game has slowed down for me. And you can see it on the court. He really can do it all, and I think that's the reason why he's the most improved player.
And, of course, he's playing for your Heat squad, so you would love to see that.
Yeah, that's bias.
I might be a little biased.
That's 100% bias coming from Omar.
He's the literal front runner for
No, let's
that
have
award.
a conversation.
All right, so next up.
How well did you know who...
It's okay. Keep going.
How well did you know how Bam Adebayo was? Did you really know about him? Did you know? Did you draft him on your fantasy team?
14th overall pick out of Kentucky in 2017. Omar, who didn't know that?
He knew that after today when he was.
I got Google too. I got Google too.
I promise you, he Googled that literally today. All right. So defensive player of the year, Giannis or Anthony Davis? Who do we got?
Omar, you start.
Anthony Davis for me. I think he does a couple things. He does it on the box score, but then he does it with all the intangibles, right? He leads the team, the Lakers, in blocks and steals. Giannis Antetokounmpo does not do that. And also, he's great at switching. So he'll switch onto a point guard, shut him down, then he'll protect the rim. One of the best post defenders in the league. And I think LeBron and Frank Vogel said it yet best. he is the defensive player of the year.
This is what I will say, and I'm only going to be contrarian just because I want to go against Omar all episode. Yes, Anthony Davis can defend 1 through 5, but anytime Giannis is on the court, the Bucks team is stifling on the defensive end. They actually lead in team defense across the league, and for every 100 possessions, they allow the least amount of points to opposing teams. And those are like tangible numbers that you can point at and touch and be like, yes, Giannis is the direct contributor to those numbers, which is why I think, and also when he's on the court, the plus minus for the Bucks goes way up. Obviously, offensively, we're talking defense, but defensively as well. And that's why I say there's an argument to be had that Giannis is and could be the defensive player of the year. I wouldn't be upset if Anthony Davis won Defensive Player of the Year. I'm just trying to be going against the grain. I'm swimming upstream here, though, guys. Help.
Okay, so if Giannis wins Defensive Player of the Year, that'd be great.
Okay.
What about MVP? He won last year.
Yes.
It's either him or LeBron typically in the race this year. So
if we're not talking Pascal Siakam for MVP, I would give it to Giannis because it's the most valuable player. Who brings the most value? And I'm going to say it right now, and my Twitter is going to be a dumpster fire. But LeBron James isn't even the most valuable player on his team. And Omar's the one who said what I needed to back me up on that. He doesn't lead in scoring. He doesn't lead in rebounds. Yes, LeBron leads in assists. And I'm not going to give him credit just for being the old guy. I am the old guy, but age doesn't matter. And that's why age doesn't end up in a box score. It ends up in your bio. So if anybody on the Lakers should be in the conversation for MVP, it should be Anthony Davis, because it's not Giannis, back-to-back MVP.
Omar, you clearly disagree with that.
I was actually going to say Giannis is the MVP, but I am so angry at Gary's take that now LeBron James is the MVP. I need to defend LeBron James, who is the best player on the planet. He affects the game more than anyone. He switched to point guard, averages 11 assists a game. You can feel his effect on the game every single time he's on the court. And with Giannis, some of those big games like you saw yesterday with Houston, he kind of disappears. When James Harden's locking you up, you can't be the MVP.
All right, I'm going to give that to you. However, and also, listen, what did LeBron and the Lakers do when Anthony Davis wasn't on the team? Were they the number 1 overall seed in the West? No. They didn't even make the playoffs. And listen, I'm not disagreeing with you. I love everything LeBron James does on the court. I love it. There's not a player like LeBron James that we have seen in the last 17 seasons. All I'm saying is he's not the most valuable to his team. And again, there's tangible evidence to prove my point. When it was just LeBron on the Lakers and he didn't have Anthony Davis, they simply weren't as good. So Anthony Davis is there. He has brought the most substantive value to the Lakers. And if we're giving the award based off of value and not philosophy, Anthony Davis is the Lakers MVP.
Okay, we're going to move on. Let's go to the let's do some fun ones.
I don't
How
even
about
know
we have a little bit of fun?
I don't care about any of those guys.
Best social media follow. In the bubble, Matisse Thybulle has been killing it with his vlog game. Have you seen his vlogs?
I have, and I'm a little upset at Matisse because we were having a back and forth DM conversation because I wanted to bring him on the SportsCenter Snapchat, and he was like, oh yeah, dope, that sounds cool. And then his agent reached out to me and was like, nah, he's basically too big time for you, so I'm a little salty at Matisse. But Omar, you're the social media guy, dude. What have you seen down there?
My favorite is actually J.R. Smith. You guys remember when he first came onto the scene, he got in trouble within 5 minutes because of his Instagram Live.
That was awesome.
And guess what? He hasn't stopped. After every game, he does an Instagram Live. So tonight, wait for J.R. Smith to go live on Instagram because it's always hilarious.
All right, speaking of social media, yesterday something popped up on Twitter. We've got the best fruit resembling a former NBA legend. And it's actually a little ridiculous because this does look exactly like Larry Bird. And I'm kind of confused, like, was the fruit already looking like that, or did somebody do something to make it look like that? It's strange.
No, you ain't crafting that up. That right there, that's God. That's God blessing us with content. All right?
How is that possible?
Nobody wants to address the fact that they found a hat for the tomato. They just found a sun hat for the tomato that was rusted. It looked like a piece of tin. What is this? Can we address the real question here? Is where do they find the tomato a hat?
My question
This is just spot on and incredible.
It's insane. How do they preserve this? Because, I mean, fruit goes bad. You want to keep this forever. Is there a way to do that?
Salt.
Yeah.
Salt is a preservative. Everybody knows that.
But if you put that in salt, wouldn't it? I don't understand how that would work. Just made that
Can you
up.
throw it in the freezer? Does that make any sense? Does that make any sense at all, or am I just crazy?
I think it would shrivel it up. You know what happens when things get cold? It gets shriveled up like that, Omar. So I don't think we want to throw that thing in the freezer. I think it's one of those flowers that bloom very quickly. You just have to appreciate it in the moment for what it's worth. And then that tomato is going to end up as ketchup, and you're going to be dipping your chicken tenders in it probably about a week or so.
Let's not start talking about ketchup.
I can't wait.
Enough about that a couple of days ago. But we are leading into the Pelicans versus the Grizzlies. It's a big deal, big game for the Pelicans. They have to win this. They're currently sitting at number 11 in the West. If they don't win this, they won't have a shot at a play-in game, which is very important. The NBA has implemented a play-in game just in the bubble, but this is one change that could possibly be permanent in the future. The 2019-2020 NBA season, unlike any other. That, of course, due to the coronavirus pandemic that took over the entire world. The NBA, however, has had conversations about changing different aspects of the league for a while now, like adding a mid-season tournament, playing fewer regular season games, and maybe reformatting the playoffs. The list goes on. But now, a place in Orlando, Florida called The Bubble may or may not be the ground floor in making some changes stick forever. On March 11th, 2020, when the NBA decided to press pause on the season due to positive coronavirus tests within the league, NBA Commissioner Adam Silver took pride in being the first professional sports league in the country to make that decision.
I think we're at the point now that this has been declared a pandemic, that it's virtually impossible to contain it.
So, a pandemic happens, and all of the parties get together and decide that the 2020 NBA restart will look like this. 22 teams, 9 from the East, 13 from the West. Playoffs are determined by each team's regular season record and the 8 seeding games that are played during the restart. The 7 top teams in each conference lock down their playoff spot, but the 8th seed could come down to a play-in tournament. Everyone is stuffed into one location, and because the season isn't expected to end until October, when the league year usually begins, the 2020-2021 season isn't expected to start until at least December. This time, unlike in 2019, the NBA could not continue its season unless it changed format. Its hand was forced, and it got creative. But some of the things we're seeing in the bubble could easily usher formally proposed rule changes into the NBA overall. And what better time than this?
The NBA has long, I think, flirted with the idea of doing away with the conferences when it gets to the playoffs and just seeding the teams 1 through 16.
How many times, like in the Western Conference, where teams had a better record than most teams in the East and they didn't make the playoffs?
It makes sense, but there are actually reasons those conversations haven't gone past conversations.
The real reason is that if one conference is more powerful than the other, do you think that any of the 15 Eastern Conference owners would vote to have less of a chance of getting into the playoffs or less of a chance of being in the finals? They found that even in this Orlando bubble, that couldn't happen. So I think some of it's going to depend on how it works, right? So if it works really well in Orlando, they might say, oh, let's do this in the future. If it's kind of a dud, it's almost a free try. It's like getting a free down in football. If it doesn't work, you can always say, well, we had to. It was the pandemic, but now we're going back to normal.
Well, if there's one thing I know for sure, normal may never be normal again. So, with the cards we're dealt, maybe this is the perfect time for the NBA to go back to the drawing board and make a new normal. There's Lonzo Ball warming up for the Pelicans head-to-head against the Grizzlies. He is going to need to ball if he wants his Pelicans to get this dub. They have 2 losses in the bubble.
Someone just hit me on the timeline and said, I can't wait to watch Zion play 9 minutes. He's on a minutes restriction. We know that, and he's upset about it. He's only played 29 minutes in the first 2 games combined, but the Pelicans need to be competitive in these games for him to be able to get more minutes. So it's a tough situation for him.
Zion can't be the only one that produces, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, his team, since he is on a minutes restriction, they know that. They're not confused about that. He was out of the bubble for almost 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
They should know how to play basketball without Zion.
And it goes without saying, but Coach Gentry said, listen, we were down 37 to the Clippers. There's no reason to have Zion in that game. He's not going to go crazy for 6 minutes and cut that lead into, a couple possession game. You're down by dang near 40. You ain't playing Zion, so they have to keep these games more competitive into the fourth quarter, though.
Especially because they don't know how quickly the NBA will turn around. We have a season that's going to be starting soon, could possibly start in December. Omar, I'm going to ask you this. We just watched that piece about all the NBA changes that could possibly happen. How do you feel about the NBA season starting in December?
I would love it. I've wanted it for so many years because in October, there's too many sports to keep track of. You get the World Series. Gary knows about that. And then you also have football and college football. There's just so many sports going on. And everyone has always kind of talked about how Christmas Day is the real start of the NBA. It's the real time where everyone's paying attention. So I think it's a very natural fit as well. You don't want to, the only issue is you don't want the season to end in like August and September. So you still have to find a way to end in June or July. But I love the idea of starting on Christmas Day.
So we talked about the play-in tournament, how the Pelicans want to win this game because they need to play into the playoffs. But John Morant is not happy about that. How do you feel about it, Gary?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the 8th seed will never be happy about that, right? Because they've deservedly found themselves in a position to be in the top 8, right? So I can kind of see the grievances of the number 8 team. It's like, no. We won enough games to get into this 8th slot. Who cares what happened below us? What happened below us, that has nothing to do with us. We shouldn't be forced to play another game because of that. Major League Baseball has that, right? If you're doing a play-in game for the wild card and teams are tied, but that's the scenario that it should be. If like the 8th and 9th seed are tied or a season split or maybe a half a game or a game, but like this 4-game differential that's going to force them to play an extra one, I can see their grievances there.
There are a number of changes that could possibly happen. One of the changes that has been completely off the board is doing the 1 through 16 rather than having
16 best teams?
Exactly,
Yeah.
1 through 16. But it's probably not going to happen. But are there other changes that you think, if you were, let's say you were commissioner for the day, what would you implement in the NBA?
Changes for the day. No dunking. No.
Make it completely boring basketball.
4-point line. I do like the Christmas Day. It's you isolate and then you dominate and then you celebrate on Christmas Day because everybody knows everybody's locked into those 4 or 5 games that are played on Christmas. I like that idea.
Omar, if you could make any changes in the NBA, what would you do?
Unpopular opinion, I think I'd actually shorten the season to like 50 to 65 games. Oftentimes, one of the problems has been is that you can just watch, you don't have to watch that Suns versus Kings game on a Friday night if you want to live your life because it just doesn't feel like it matters that much if it's in November or December. And the best way to do that is to really shrink that schedule and make it feel like every game matters. That's why the NFL is so great. It really matters if you lose that Sunday. And the NBA, sometimes it feels like you're lost. It doesn't really matter if you lose in October or November. Everyone talks about, just wait till the playoffs.
Talking to Rachel and Zach about that specific thing, Omar, one of the things that's the problem with that, if you shorten the season, you have to get the owners to agree to these things, and they are losing revenue if you're playing less games. So that's the biggest issue there.
And Omar, less to post on Instagram, man. You're not about that life. What are you talking about, dude? Who's going to control the content? You're a madman.
You know what? I could use a couple of days off. I got used to it during the quarantine, so I love it. I love it.
Grizzlies versus Pelicans. Must win for the Pelicans.
They're not going.
Do we think that they're going to pull this one off?
I don't think so. I mean, we don't know how many minutes Zion's going to actually play, and the Grizzlies have something to play for. They haven't shown us necessarily any reasons as to why they can't take care of business tonight against Zion, who we don't know how long he's going to play and cast. So, yeah, give me the Grizzlies in this one. But it is a must-win for the Pelicans, so who knows? They're playing for their lives.
Omar, what you think?
Yeah, there was a cool moment. There was a cool moment after the Trailblazers game when Ja Morant kind of messed up in overtime, and him and Melo kind of stopped and chatted for a little bit, and you could tell like Ja really wants to make the playoffs. He really cares about it, and it was cool, like a cool veteran moment where Melo was just like, "Relax, you're gonna have your moment." So I just think the Grizzlies want it more. I think they're healthier, and Zion is just gonna be so tricky if he's playing 50 minutes a game.
Well, we'll see what happens. We got the Grizzlies and the Pels right after this. And Cassidy and the OG crew, I don't know who OJ, well, I do know who OJ is. We're not talking about that guy. At 8, right before the Lakers versus the Jazz at 9. 8:30, next Hoop Streams. Watch Grizzlies versus Pelicans right now.
Omar, go get a T-shirt, bro.
You're good, Omar.
I'll
Keep
Venmo
sweating
you.
it out.
Okay.
Florida for life.
Venmo me right after this, please.
I will.
Please.
I got you, bro. I'm uncomfortable.
He has to wash his...